That Wednesday morning, when I walked into Morrison and Associates' law office to sign over the deed to my home, the house where I'd raised my son, where my late husband and I had spent 42 years together, I truly believed I was doing the right thing. Have you ever had that feeling deep in your gut that something was terribly wrong, but everyone around you kept saying you were being paranoid, that you were just a difficult old woman who couldn't accept change? I was about to sign away everything I owned, and I had no idea I was walking straight into a trap. My name is Margaret, and I'm 65 years old. I've been a widow for 3 years now, since my husband Frank passed from a sudden heart attack. It was just me and our son David, who's 38 now. He'd always been a good boy, a devoted son. When Frank died, David was there every single day, helping me through the grief, handling the funeral arrangements, taking care of the finances. He married his wife, Vanessa, about 2 years ago, and I'll admit, I had my reservations at first. Something about her smile never quite reached her eyes. But David loved her, and I wanted him to be happy, so I pushed those feelings aside. About 6 months ago, David came to me with a proposal. "Mom," he said, sitting at my kitchen table where he used to do his homework as a child, "Vanessa and I have been talking. This house is getting too big for you. The stairs are hard on your knees. The yard is too much work. We want you to sign the house over to us, and we'll all live here together. We'll take care of the maintenance, the bills, everything. You won't have to worry about a thing." Vanessa was sitting next to him, nodding sympathetically. "We just want to take care of you, Margaret. You've done so much for David your whole life. Let us return the favor." It sounded wonderful, didn't it? My son and his wife, wanting to care for me in my old age, all of us, under one roof. I'd been feeling lonely in that big house anyway. The memories were beautiful, but they were also heavy. Every room reminded me of Frank. Having David and Vanessa there, maybe even grandchildren someday, it felt like breathing new life into the place. But there was a small voice in the back of my mind, one I kept trying to silence. A voice that asked, why does the deed need to be in their names? Why can't we just all live together while I still own it? I mentioned this once, and Vanessa's face had tightened, just for a second. "Well, Margaret, if you want us to invest in renovations and updates, we need to protect that investment. What if something happened to you and the house went into probate? It would be tied up for months. This way, it's clean, it's simple. We're family." David had squeezed my hand. "Mom, you trust me, don't you?" Of course I did. He was my son. So I agreed. We scheduled an appointment with the lawyer to transfer the deed. Vanessa had even picked out the law firm. "They're the best," she'd assured me. So there I was, in the reception area of Morrison and Associates, clutching my purse, my hands trembling slightly. David and Vanessa had said they'd meet me there, but they were running late. "Traffic," Vanessa had texted. "We'll be there in 20 minutes. Go ahead and start the paperwork." A pleasant receptionist led me back to a conference room where a stack of documents was already laid out. "Mr. Morrison will be with you shortly," she said. "You can start reviewing these if you'd like." I sat down and began looking through the papers, but honestly, legal documents have always confused me. All that tiny print, those phrases like heretofore and whereas. I was 3 pages in, not understanding much of anything, when the door opened. But it wasn't Mr. Morrison who walked in. It was a young woman, maybe in her early 30s, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. She was wearing a professional suit, carrying a leather portfolio. She glanced at me, then at the papers in front of me, and I saw something flash across her face. Fear? Concern? "Mrs. Brennan?" she said quietly, closing the door behind her. "Yes?" She walked over quickly, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, and then she did something I'll never forget. She reached out and gently placed her hand over mine, stopping me from turning to the next page. Her hand was ice cold. "Don't sign anything," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Please, just trust me." I stared at her. "I'm sorry. Who are you?" "My name is Rachel Chen. I'm a junior associate here." She glanced at the door nervously, then back at me. "Mrs. Brennan, I need you to listen very carefully. In 15 minutes, I'm going to show you something. But right now, you need to pretend you have a medical emergency. Tell them you're feeling dizzy, that you need some air. Ask to reschedule." My heart started pounding. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." Please." Her eyes were wide, urgent. "Your son and daughter-in-law will be here any minute. If you sign those papers, you'll lose everything. Not just your house, everything." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My son would never, David wouldn't. "It's not your son I'm worried about." Rachel's grip on my hand tightened. "Mrs. Brennan, I could lose my job for this. I could be disbarred before I even really start my career. But I've watched this firm help people do terrible things to their own family members, and I won't let it happen again. Not when I can stop it." I looked into this young woman's eyes, this complete stranger, and I saw something that made my decision. Absolute conviction. She wasn't lying. She wasn't confused. She was terrified, yes, but she was also determined. "What do I do?" I heard myself whisper. "Tell them you're not feeling well. Reschedule for next week. Then meet me in the parking garage, level 2, west corner, the gray Honda Civic. Can you do that?" Before I could answer, we heard voices in the hallway. Rachel pulled her hand back, straightened up, and in a louder, professional voice said, "And if you have any questions about the property tax implications, Mrs. Brennan, I'd be happy to review those with you at a later time." The door opened. A man in his 60s, presumably Mr. Morrison, walked in, followed by David and Vanessa. "Mom!" David came over and kissed my cheek. "Sorry we're late. You haven't signed anything yet, have you?" I looked at my son's face, the face I'd known since the moment he was born, and I felt my heart breaking, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure if I could trust him. "No," I said slowly. "Actually, I'm not feeling very well. I think I'm a bit dizzy. Could we possibly reschedule this for next week?" Vanessa's expression flickered just for a fraction of a second, but I saw it. Annoyance, maybe even anger, but she quickly rearranged her features into concern. "Oh, Margaret, are you all right? Do you need water?" "I just need some fresh air," I said, standing up. My legs felt wobbly, but maybe that wasn't entirely an act. "I'm sorry to waste everyone's time." Mr. Morrison waved dismissively. "Not at all, Mrs. Brennan. Your health comes first. Shall we reschedule for next Wednesday?" "That would be fine," I said. David tried to take my arm. "Let me drive you home, Mom." No, I'm fine to drive. I just need a moment." I pulled away gently. "You two go on. I'll call you later." I could feel Vanessa's eyes burning into my back as I left the conference room. My heart was hammering so hard I thought everyone could hear it. I took the elevator down to the parking garage, my mind spinning. What was I doing? This was crazy. Rachel was probably just some disgruntled employee, or confused, but then I remembered her eyes, the fear in them, the determination. I found the gray Honda Civic in the west corner of level 2. Rachel was already there, leaning against the car, still looking nervously around. When she saw me, relief washed over her face. "Thank God," she breathed. "Get in, please." I got into the passenger seat. Rachel slid into the driver's seat and immediately pulled out her phone. "I need to show you something. But first, you need to understand I'm violating client confidentiality by doing this. What I'm about to show you is attorney-client privileged material. If this gets out, I'll lose everything." "Then why are you showing me?" She looked at me, and her eyes were shining with tears. "Because my grandmother died alone in a state-run nursing home 3 years ago. She signed over her house to my uncle, her youngest son, who promised he'd take care of her. Instead, he sold the house within a month, took the money, and dumped her in the cheapest facility he could find. She died 6 months later. She died alone, confused, thinking she'd done something wrong, wondering why her family had abandoned her. I felt tears burning in my own eyes. Rachel pulled up something on her phone. "6 weeks ago, your daughter-in-law came to our firm alone. Not with your son. Alone. She met with Mr. Morrison in private." She turned the phone toward me. "We record all our client consultations for liability purposes. This is from that meeting." She pressed play. I heard Vanessa's voice, crystal clear. "So once the deed is in our names, how quickly can we move her out?" Mr. Morrison's voice, casual, businesslike. "Well, technically, once you own the property, you can evict any occupant with 30 days' notice, even a family member, and she can't contest it? Not if she's signed over the deed voluntarily. It becomes your property to do with as you wish." Vanessa laughed. It was a sound I'd heard 100 times at family dinners, but now it sounded different. Cold. Perfect. My brother's been scouting assisted living facilities. We found one that'll take her for about $2,000 a month. Her Social Security should almost cover it. And the house? Mr. Morrison asked. We'll list it immediately. The market's good right now. Should get at least $400,000, maybe more. After commission and closing costs, we're looking at a clean profit of $370,000, give or take. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped Rachel's phone. No, I whispered. No, David, he doesn't know about this. He couldn't. There's more, Rachel said gently. She fast-forwarded. This is from 2 weeks ago. Your son came in for a meeting. I heard David's voice. My baby boy. I feel terrible about this, Mr. Morrison. She's my mother. I understand it's difficult, Mr. Morrison said smoothly. But sometimes we have to make hard choices for our loved ones. Your wife has explained that your mother's becoming increasingly forgetful, having trouble managing her finances. Well, I wouldn't say increasingly, David. Vanessa's voice, sharp. We talked about this. Your mother is declining. It's not safe for her to live alone in that big house. This is the responsible thing to do. There was a long pause. Then David, sounding tired, defeated. You're right. I wish there was another way. There isn't, Vanessa said firmly. Sign here. Rachel stopped the recording. I was crying now, silent tears streaming down my face. He knows, I whispered. My son knows what they're planning. I think your daughter-in-law has been manipulating him, Rachel said carefully. From what I've heard in these recordings, she's very good at it. She frames everything as concern for you, as the responsible choice. I don't think he fully understands what's going to happen. I think he believes you'll actually be living with them. But you just played me he was there when she talked about assisted living. No, listen again. Rachel replayed it. That's Mr. Morrison saying, your wife has explained. David doesn't confirm or deny, he just says he feels terrible. I think Vanessa's been telling the lawyer one thing and telling David something else entirely. I pressed my hands to my face. What do I do? What can I do? Rachel took a deep breath. Here's what I suggest. Don't let them know you know anything. Go through with the appointment next week. But before you do, I want you to call your own lawyer. Not someone from our firm, God. Definitely not our firm. I can give you names of some good elder law attorneys. Have them review the deed transfer documents, and more importantly, have them look into setting up protections for you. What kind of protections? A trust, maybe. Or at minimum, a clause in the deed that gives you life estate, meaning you have the right to live in the home until you die, regardless of who owns it. If David really just wants to help you, he'll agree to that. If he refuses, she trailed off, then I'll know for sure. I finished. Rachel nodded. She pulled a business card from her purse and wrote something on the back. This is my personal cell phone number, and these are the names of 2 attorneys I trust. Call them today. Tell them I sent you. They'll know to take you seriously. I took the card with trembling hands. Why are you doing this? You said you could lose everything. Because it's the right thing, she said simply. And because I couldn't save my grandmother, but maybe I can save you. I hugged her. This stranger, this young woman who owed me nothing, who was risking her career for me. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you. Over the next week, I did exactly what Rachel suggested. I called one of the attorneys she recommended, a woman named Patricia Gonzalez who specialized in elder law. I showed her the deed transfer documents I'd managed to get copies by claiming I wanted to review them at home. Patricia's face grew darker with every page. Mrs. Brennan, she said, looking up at me over her reading glasses. These documents are designed to strip you of every single right to your own home. The moment you sign this, you become a tenant in your own house. They can evict you whenever they want, sell the house whenever they want, and you'll have no legal recourse. That's what I was afraid of. Now, the question is, does your son understand this, or is he being manipulated? I don't know, I admitted. I'd like to think he's being manipulated, but he's still your son, and he should be protecting you, not leaving you vulnerable, Patricia finished. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to draft an alternative deed transfer, one that includes life estate provisions. You'll transfer ownership to David, but you retain the right to live in the home until your death. The house cannot be sold without your written permission. You cannot be evicted. If we present this as an alternative and he refuses, well, that tells you what you need to know. Wednesday came again. I walked back into Morrison and Associates with Patricia by my side. David and Vanessa were already in the conference room. When Vanessa saw Patricia, her expression went carefully blank. "Mom, who's this?" David asked. "This is my attorney, Patricia Gonzalez. I had her review the documents, and she's drafted some alternative provisions I'd like to include." Vanessa stood up. "Margaret, that's not necessary. We're family. You don't need—" "I think I do," I said quietly. I looked at my son. "David, if this is really about taking care of me, then you won't mind signing a deed that protects my right to live in my own home for the rest of my life." David looked confused. "Of course you'll live there. That's the whole point." "Then you won't mind putting it in writing," Patricia said, sliding the new documents across the table. Mr. Morrison had gone very still. Vanessa's face had turned red. "This is ridiculous. We've already agreed." "We haven't agreed to anything," I said, and I was surprised by the strength in my own voice. "I haven't signed anything, and I won't sign anything that doesn't protect my rights." David picked up the documents, frowning as he read them. "I don't understand. Mom, this just says you get to stay in the house until he stopped." His eyes widening. He looked at the original documents, then at the new ones, then at Vanessa. "Vanessa, the original documents don't have any of this protection. Why don't they have any of this?" "Because it's not necessary," she said, but her voice was tight. "Your mother is being paranoid. That attorney is putting ideas in her head." "What ideas?" David's voice was rising. "The idea that she should be able to live in her own house? The idea that we can't just kick her out and sell it? We would never do that." "Then why isn't it in the documents?" David slammed the papers down on the table. "Vanessa, why isn't it in the documents?" The room went very quiet. I watched my son's face as realization slowly dawned. The color drained from his cheeks. "You were planning to," he whispered. "You were planning to move her out and sell the house. David, you're overreacting." "How long?" He stood up, his chair scraping loudly. "How long have you been planning this?" That's when Patricia pulled out her own phone. "Mr. Morrison, I believe you should know that I've filed a complaint with the State Bar regarding your handling of this matter. Specifically, regarding your failure to ensure that your client, Mrs. Brennan, understood the full implications of the documents she was being asked to sign. I believe that rises to the level of—" "You have no proof of any misconduct," Mr. Morrison said coldly. "Actually, I do," Patricia smiled. "I have recordings from your own office, provided by a whistleblower, recordings of you and Mrs. Vanessa Brennan discussing plans to defraud Mrs. Margaret Brennan out of her property and place her in an assisted living facility against her will." Vanessa's face went white. "That's attorney-client privileged. You can't. The privilege belongs to the client, not the attorney. And the client, in this case, is Mrs. Margaret Brennan, who owns the property in question. She has every right to know what was discussed regarding her assets." David was staring at Vanessa like he'd never seen her before. "You were going to put my mother in a home? You were going to sell her house?" "David, it's not like that." "Then what is it like?" His voice cracked. "Explain it to me, Vanessa. Explain how this isn't exactly what it looks like." She couldn't. She stood there, opening and closing her mouth, and she couldn't come up with a single explanation that made sense. "I want a divorce," David said quietly. "I want you out of my life." "You can't be serious. Over this? Over her?" Vanessa pointed at me, and the disgust in her face was finally, fully visible. "She's a bitter old woman who's going to die alone anyway. We were just speeding up the inevitable." David's hand trembled as he pointed at the door. "Get out, David. Get out," he roared. And Vanessa flinched. She grabbed her purse and walked out, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. Mr. Morrison followed quickly, muttering something about speaking with the Bar Association. Patricia excused herself as well, giving me a meaningful look. "I'll be in the lobby if you need me." David and I were alone. My son, my baby boy, sank into his chair and put his head in his hands. "Mom," he whispered. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know. I sat down beside him and took his hand. "What did she tell you?" She said you were getting forgetful, that you'd left the stove on twice, that you'd gotten lost driving home from the grocery store. She showed me medical articles about dementia, about how families need to intervene before it's too late." He was crying now. "She said that by getting the house in our names, we could protect it from Medicaid claims when you eventually needed nursing home care. She made it sound like we were helping you. And the part about me living with you? She said that was always the plan, that we'd renovate the downstairs bedroom into a suite for you, that we'd take care of you there." He looked up at me, his face devastated. "I believed her, Mom. She's my wife. I loved her. I believed every word. When did you find out the truth?" He was quiet for a long moment. 2 weeks ago, I overheard her on the phone with her brother. She was laughing about the old bat and talking about touring vacation homes in Florida. But when I asked her about it, she said I'd misheard, that she was talking about a TV show, and I wanted to believe her. So I did. I squeezed his hand. "David, listen to me. What Vanessa did was terrible. What she almost did to me was unforgivable. But you stopped it. When you saw the truth, you did the right thing. But I almost didn't see it," he said bitterly. "If you hadn't brought your own lawyer, if that associate hadn't warned you, but I did, and she did. And you need to know, David, I never stopped trusting you. Not really. I was scared, yes, confused. But deep down, I knew my son would do the right thing when he understood what was really happening." He hugged me then, sobbing into my shoulder like he used to do when he was a little boy and something had frightened him. I held him and stroked his hair and told him it was going to be okay. Because it was. We were going to be okay. Patricia helped us file for divorce. She also helped us file a civil suit against Vanessa and her brother for attempted fraud. We never got a criminal prosecution, the DA said. It would be hard to prove intent, but the civil case was enough. Vanessa ended up having to pay restitution, and her brother, who it turned out had been involved in similar schemes with elderly relatives before, faced his own legal troubles. Mr. Morrison was disbarred. Rachel Chen became a bit of a hero in the legal community, a young attorney who'd risked her career to do the right thing. Last I heard, she'd moved to a much better firm that specializes in elder advocacy. As for David and me, he moved back into my house while his divorce was finalized. We worked on it together, making it work for both of us. He converted the garage into a separate apartment for himself, giving us both privacy but keeping us close. He met someone new about a year later, a kind woman named Lauren who teaches elementary school. Before she moved in, she insisted on meeting with Patricia to make sure all the legal protections for me were still in place. I knew then that she was a keeper. And me? I still live in my house, the one Frank and I built a life in. I tend my garden. I have dinner with David and Lauren twice a week. And I think about that Wednesday morning when a young lawyer I'd never met grabbed my hand and whispered, "Don't sign anything." Because sometimes the people who save us are complete strangers. Sometimes they risk everything just because it's the right thing to do. And sometimes trust, real trust, means listening to that voice in your gut that says something is wrong, even when everyone else is telling you you're paranoid. I learned something important through all of this. I learned that getting older doesn't mean becoming helpless. It doesn't mean handing over control of your life to people just because they're family. It means standing up for yourself, seeking help when you need it, and trusting the right people. That young lawyer, Rachel, saved my life. Not in a dramatic, pulling me from a burning building way, but in a way that matters just as much. She saved me from losing my home, my independence, my dignity. She saved me from dying confused and alone in some state facility, wondering what I'd done wrong. And I'll never, ever forget that. If you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, if someone's pressuring you to sign over your assets, your home, your power of attorney, please get a second opinion. Talk to an elder law attorney. Listen to that voice in your gut. Don't let anyone, not even family, make you feel foolish for protecting yourself. Because at the end of the day, your life is yours. Your home is yours. Your choices are yours. And anyone who truly loves you will respect that. Thank you for listening to my story. I'll see you in the next one.